And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Jim Backus, who is the 2015 CII Chairman and Executive Vice President of Hargrove Engineers and Constructors. Please welcome Jim Backus.
Thanks, Danny. Appreciate it. Well, good afternoon. We've had a great beginning to our conference, and especially, I think, Barry LePatner this morning gave us a lot to think about. I'm not really sure what a super lawyer is, but if one showed up in my conference room, I knew I should be scared. But Barry did give us a lot to think about, and he actually started a lot of conversations. In fact, I overheard Randy Abdallah of Wallbridge Construction and Ron May of DTE Energy and Barry in this heated conversation. I really couldn't get the gist of it, but it turned out that they were arguing about which of their professions was the world's oldest profession. And you know, as things like this happen, sometimes somebody will refer to the Bible in order to prove their point. Randy Abdallah, who's a general contractor, said, well, of course, we all know that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And well, you can't imagine a construction project any bigger than that. So obviously, builder is the world's oldest profession. Well, then Ron said, well, you know, Randy, you got to remember that before God created the heavens and the earth, everything was a formless void, a chaos, and darkness spread over the whole world. And so God said, let there be light. And that's when the nuclear reactions on the surface of the sun started, and there was light. And so naturally, nuclear engineer actually is the world's oldest profession. Then Barry knew that he had them both because he just looked at both of them and said, well, who do you think created the chaos? Now, we all know we can't blame the lawyers for the chaos we find on our projects. We look for ourselves, the leaders of the capital investment process. But your Construction Industry Institute is dedicated to creating order out of chaos, replacing assumptions with facts, anecdotes with research, arbitrary targets with benchmarks. Let me get my clicker. We envision an industry which builds facilities without injuries, without waste, creating predictable value for our members, our stakeholders, and our society. Every person here is in some way connected to CII's effort, and you should be very proud of what you're doing. As 2015 CII Chairman, working closely with Wayne Crew and the CII staff and your executive committee, it is my privilege to facilitate and lead our Institute's activities so that our Institute shall, one, maximize for our members the value for money and time spent in our four core processes of research, development, measurement, and management. Secondly, we want to grow our positive influence on the capital process. So to accomplish this, we set some simple goals for 2015. Dig deep, get ahead, reach out, and plan ahead. So how are we doing? First, dig deep. Through what you see here is a gold mine, and that's what we believe is happening in our research. Through the leadership of our research committee, we continue to fund, staff, and organize the most aggressive research program in our history, evidence of which you've already seen this morning and which you'll see again this afternoon and tomorrow. I'd like to congratulate the members of the research teams who are reporting out at the conference today and tomorrow, and who also, those teams that reported out at our Board of Advisors meetings in the spring and upcoming in the fall. From my own experience and the experience of those in our company, I know that you gained a lot in learning from other project professionals, in organizing yourselves to answer the essential question, and in working with the scholarly investigators. We're proud of what you're doing for your industry, and you should be proud of what you've accomplished. Our 32 years of research effort has created a gold mine of knowledge, but it's not enough to mine for it. You have to actually refine it so that you can use it. Led by our Knowledge Management Committee, 16 teams of volunteers, are engaged in structuring our knowledge base, integrating the findings of hundreds of research teams, and tagging our documents. Our goal is to make our knowledge base electronically searchable and instantly accessible to our members. When I was a CII implementation champion a generation ago, I attempted to do something similar armed with no more than the research summaries and multicolor highlighter pens. I hope that I did contribute to the success of the company, but really what I found was that I was the main beneficiary of what I learned. And I know that you RIT team members are sharing your expertise and becoming even more proficient in those areas of expertise as you mine out the nuggets from CII body of knowledge. I thank you, and I promise that the time you're spending will be repaid many times over. Our professional development and implementation strategy committees will invite you this afternoon to drink deeply from CII best practices. They held a great project improvement workshop this spring, and they're working diligently to find new ways to bring CII training online through workshops and in other resources to help our member companies further develop their organizational capability. Now, during the Great Recession a few years ago, our company took the opportunity of the slowdown to go through CII best practices ourselves, and we dedicated a year of Friday afternoons to teach each other from the CII body of knowledge. We had the support of the CII implementation team, and that experience brought our leaders together. We had a lot of fun. We learned a lot, came up with a common lexicon, and those leaders that are engaged in the process, in fact, 2 of them are our first CCMs, those folks have been promoted to positions of even greater responsibility. For our company, and I'm sure for yours, knowing, understanding, and applying CII best practices makes a huge difference in our business. I want to thank those committee members who dedicate themselves to assisting companies like ours in promoting our organizational and professional development. Get ahead. You can't know whether you're ahead unless you're measuring. Our Performance Assessment Committee collaborated with the Professional Development Group on the spring PIW in order to show the clear relationship between the application of CII best practices and measurable project outcomes. In the second year now of our 10-10 program, those who are participating are able to extract real-time benchmarking reports. Our project managers get important feedback on their project health and can make mid-course decisions about specific areas of improvement. By collecting data at each phase milestone, we expect the number of projects and companies gaining from participation in CII benchmarking to accelerate. We have a good thing going with our benchmarking and performance assessment. In fact, much of the interest in CII that we get from organizations overseas starts with inquiries about our benchmarking. We continue to coordinate also the efforts of several special benchmarking groups who are developing sector-specific measurements and benchmarks that help them in making good decisions about their capital investment process and improving their project results. Reach out. Our strategic thrust for global relevance is gaining momentum. Our performance workshops in Norway are now mature with the 10-10 benchmarking questionnaire translated into Norwegian. So if your inability to speak English was your obstacle and Norwegian is your only language, you can now participate in 10-10. So your CII is engaged in serious discussions also with organizations in Asia, Africa, and Arabia. These owners and contractors recognize the potential of the recent groundbreaking productivity research that was completed by CII over a 5-year period under the leadership of this year's conference chair, Danny Christian. They desire to benefit from our 32 years of experience in improving capital efficiency. And we stand to gain valuable insight into project execution in these global markets. markets already well known to many of our member companies. These relationships add to CII's credibility, relevance, and global influence. Plan ahead. Our Strategic Planning Committee is making great strides in completing our 2016 strategic plan, along with updated statements of our mission, vision, and core values. The strategic plan informs our choices about the organization of staff, as well as the allocation of resources among our core processes. We will continue to strengthen our core processes moving forward in each of the dimensions that you see here. In addition to our strategies aimed at broadening CII's influence across multiple construction sectors and around the globe, we feel it is strategically important to also focus on deepening CII's relationships with each member company, looking for improved ways to deliver value to you. This is especially perhaps the case for our owner organizations, many of whom today are decentralizing their capital management organizations. A fifth goal, transition leadership, was recently added to our goals for 2015. As many of you know, Wayne Crew has announced that he'll be leaving CII to become the General Secretary of the National Academy of Construction, succeeding Dr. Richard Tucker, who was CII's founding director. Dr. Carlos Caldas and myself co-chair a search committee representing CII member companies and representatives of the University of Texas. An executive search firm has already started interviewing the many excellent candidates who have expressed interest. Our plan is to complete the search and transition to our new executive director in time for our fall Board of Advisors meeting in Florida. Now, each member company here and every participant sitting out there knows that leadership transition is an organizational capability that is absolutely critical to the long-term vitality of your organization, and CII is the same. But while we manage and we mitigate the risk of knowledge loss through a careful handoff, we're also excited about the opportunity presented by new perspectives, fresh energy, and an even more audacious vision for your institute. Wayne, where are you? There he is. Wayne, you know that we can't replace you. All we can do is to find the leader who can continue to build on the foundation laid by you and Richard Tucker and your other predecessors. I want to thank you on behalf of the Institute for all that you've done in your 12 years of service to CII and your 9 years as Executive Director. Thank you. Now, he's not done yet, so, okay. Also want to thank our other standing committees, including the Membership Engagement, Strategic Communication, and Annual Conference Committees, whose continuous involvement helps to deepen our relationships with our members. We appreciate the time you give CII, and we trust that your involvement is bearing fruit for your own companies. Thanks also to the CII staff, especially Jewel Walters and her team, whose work on this conference has exceeded the already high expectations of excellence that she and her team have set for themselves. Finally, I thank you, the members and scholars who collaborate to shine a light instead of cursing the darkness. I'm grateful to serve as this year's chairman of CII, the construction industry's leading organization, creating order out of chaos. Now, let's all continue to dig deep into our research from this year. Thank you.